Good morning, SML, and happy Friday. Back here, Eminem in the morning, joined as always with Matt. What's going on, Matt?
Hey man, doing pretty good. Excited to be back for yet another week and another episode.
Another week. I think this might be the most consistent I've uploaded a podcast in my history of the SML. I mean, like, what is this episode 4 or 5? I don't even remember. But that's a month straight of consistent uploads. I'm impressed with myself.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job. I think this is actually number 5, so just over a month's worth of episodes.
There we go. Hey, so today we got a good, an all-star guest. I teased it in chat a little bit, didn't drop it. Um, the Madden Messiah himself, fresh off his first win of the season. Dan, the man, the preacher man, is in the booth with us. What's going on, Dan?
Not too much, guys. Doing a whole lot better right now after that win. But doing good. Glad to be on the show. You guys are doing great work. I've enjoyed listening to what you guys have been doing.
Yeah, you definitely needed that win. We talked about it last week, and we said, hey, we're gonna hit pause on the Dan discussion, and we're gonna talk about it next week because I felt like this last week in real life, not Madden week, but this last week was really gonna be indicative of how your season was gonna go. And I really had this game against the Ravens circled. I was like, you know what? I think he can go 0-5 and still be okay. But this game against the Ravens, that's really going to tell me what's going on. And I don't know. Are you back? I mean, you just dominated the hell out of the Ravens like twice because of a disconnect.
You know what? This is my second beginning cycle with SML. My first cycle, obviously, last year with the Broncos, and I am traditionally more of a slow starter than I was last year. So last year was a little bit not the norm for me. What my problem is in beginning of seasons, I'm the opposite of Prime, where Prime doesn't play much. He just got to get used to the game. I play too much, and I'm trying to do everything too much. And so the first 5 games, man, I was just trying to blitz, play zone, play man, run, pass, play. I was just trying everything and just wasn't good at it. Even in that though, I felt really in 4 of the 5 games, it came down to the fourth quarter, came down to red zone. I had a few bad breaks. So I felt right there, and I just this game against the Ravens, I just kind of decided, all right, I'm gonna stick to a few things that I do well, and then with this momentum, in Madden 22, when you start picking up some things, I get a few interceptions, get a few breaks. All of a sudden, man, that third quarter, I got like 2 hit sticks, and I never get a hit stick fumbles right after that. So I think that's important to realize, and something I'm learning about the game. So am I back? No, you can't say I'm back. I'm 1-5, but I definitely feel good right now.
This was, I mean, a pretty extremely front-loaded schedule. You do have a couple more tough games the rest of the year. Raiders again. That remains to be seen since RD is gone. You got Prime again. You got Matt coming up. You got D Muse, who's not a pushover, despite his 3-3 record. But yeah, I mean this schedule was extremely front loaded. You had a.
Tiny spell ever. I'll take it.
Oh, we're listening to somebody in the background there. Love it. So you had a 5-point loss to a solid NYT. I mean, that's a borderline playoff team, especially in that NFC. A 3-point loss to the Cowboys, who, it looked to be back. I mean, he had a down cycle last year, but he seems to be back. The only game that you've lost by multiple scores was to Prime. I don't blame you. It's hard to compete with that Chiefs team sometimes. And then a 5-point loss to RD's Raiders, 6-point loss to the Browns. So you've been really in every single game. It hasn't been like you've been getting blown out all season.
Yeah, that's what I felt, especially with RD and Bomber. The first 2 games with NYT and Grams, I really blew that. I feel there were 2 moments where I could have picked up first downs, or I could have kept the drives going and kind of either taken the lead or iced it away, and I just blew it. But RD and Bomber just kind of back and forth, and it came down to the RD was the last play. Bomber had some penalties there at the end, but both of them I felt good that I could at least compete. So, but again, for me, I'm trying to win. I'm not trying to compete. So as good as I felt, I still got to run off 4 more straight to get to 500. So the road's tough. I probably can can maybe get one more loss and still make the playoffs at 11-6. I don't think 10-7 will make playoffs in the AFC. So I gotta get this figured out, and I gotta move forward. And at least today, I felt like I'm moving in the right direction.
And Dan, I saw and noticed that your games were all one score except for the prime game. Now I know I think Bomber was up like 17-0 versus you, got a couple of turnovers. That's mad, and that's great job
Yeah.
by you. But all your games are close. So I guess I have a two-part question for you. One, after the first 5 games, knowing that you were competitive with some of the better players in the league, how close did or do you feel to having things figured out? And if you feel like you're close and you are in close games that you could easily be 5-0 instead of 0-5, why trade your franchise quarterback?
Good questions, and I love to explain it. So I'm going to be careful here because I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses. So um, that's not at all. Like I legitimately lost all those games. Like you mentioned, the Bomber game, he was actually in control the whole game. I got some breaks just to get close with that game. Prime, I never felt like I was in it. I was just chasing him. So I'm not making excuses here, but what's been harder this year than in the past is I play in multiple leagues. The other leagues I'm in plays on all Madden. This one's all pro. There's a significant difference on how defense plays. And that's frustrating to me because I love to be a defense first person. I love to take away what the other team wants to do. And I've been struggling on trying to figure that out. And so that's been kind of my biggest hang up. I've never been a quarterback driven player. I've never been a fast type thrower where I'm chucking it downfield. I'm much more calculated. I'm much more try to take what the defense gives me and just start beating them down. So if you guys know, last year I won the Lombardi with a rookie quarterback. I switched quarterbacks quite a bit. It was always the plan for me to trade Justin Herbert, just because I thought he was the greatest or the best quarterback on the market that was tradable. His throw power, his age, everything. He has everything to be a marquee top quarterback. So I knew I could get a lot from him, and I was trying to get 3 pieces. I wanted 2 first-round picks, and I wanted a third thing. And so I had a few guys offer me 2 first rounds. No one really offered me that third piece. And so I just kind of held on to him, and I was kind of talking myself into it, thinking, you know what, throw power is so important, QB is so important. Maybe this is a new Madden, maybe this is different Madden, and yet I kept going into every game, and I kept thinking it's not the quarterback. I'm not losing because of the quarterback. I'm not winning because of the quarterback. I'm not winning because I can't stop them, and I can't make the play that I want. So I said, you know what, I need to make a move so I can prepare myself not only this season but beyond. And as soon as I talked to QP and saw that I could get Goff and 2 firsts, I know I can win with Goff. Like Goff and Justin Herbert to me are going to be the same guy. They're not going to change my style. And also Goff gives me another piece. So going into next season, there's 10 or 12 teams looking for quarterbacks. I think right now there's 4 or 5 decent ones in the draft. I don't think there's going to be too many in the free agency. So there's going to be, 3 to 4 teams at least out there looking for a quarterback. And now I got another one I could possibly move. So I've got Goff I can move. His price tag's a little high, but he's got, huge upside in accuracies. I think his short accuracy is 91, which is crazy. He's a little slower, but he's still a really good quarterback, and I can move him. So now I'm set up for next season. I've got that extra draft pick this season. I got an extra one the next year I can use. I got a lot of capital. I'm looking at loading up my defense. I want a defense that just dominates, and then I'll figure out the offense on the back end of it. So that's my plan. It looks like you're mailing it in when you sell your best player and you pick up 2 future picks, but I think I am able to do what I want to this year, and I'm set up for the future. I'm really happy with what happened.
I mean, yeah, you've proven that you can win with a bad quarterback. You did it a bunch of times last cycle. And I mean, I really like the trade. You get 2 first-round picks and a player that's honestly kind of comparable. Because Jared Goff's only 26. Yes, he's a worse quarterback, but he's still a 78. Solid accuracies across the board, solid throw power. He can work with 89. So I really think this is a massive win for you, even if that second first round pick is going to be in the back half, in the later 20s. That first pick this year, that looks like it's going to be early to mid first round. So that could be a huge game changer for your team building.
Yeah, I've got the way I look at it, I have 4 first round picks in the next 2 seasons. Every one of them is a potential capital for me to move to decide if I want to go get a veteran or if I want to move up and get a higher draft pick. So I've got a lot of options, and to me, I want options. I'm not having to fight through the chaos and the mob of everyone and their mother trying to get a quarterback next season. So, but if I see one I like, I'll go get that one. So, to me, I'm set up good, and but my main goal is defense. I want to get stronger on the defensive side. I want to be able to go into any game, whether it's against Prime or against Bomb or against Matt, Meets, anyone I'm playing against, and look and say, okay, what do they want to do, and how can I take it away and force them to do something else? And if they do something else and beat me, hey, hats off to them. But what was really ticking me off the first 5 games was I didn't feel like I could do anything. Anyone could do whatever they wanted. So that's got to be the drive in the next cycle of games here. The next group that I have is I want to go into, and I want to take away what you can, and then offensively I'll just kind of work my way and get better at that. So that's my plan. It's kind of what I've done all my Madden career. It's kind of what I'll keep doing. And hopefully I can do a little bit better than I did last year. It was the same plan I had last year. I just swung and missed on trying to replace Von Miller. It wasn't the quarterback last year that hurt me. It was I never once got a replacement for Von Miller. So I want to make sure that I try not to swing and miss this year.
And Dan, do you have, looking forward, I think you've got a bye coming up this next advance. Looking forward to the rest of the season, do you have a win goal in mind? I got to get to 10 wins, or I got to get to 11 to have a chance at the playoffs, or are you just taking it game by game and just trying to figure things out?
Yeah, I think it's 11. I think if I get 11 and 6 with the extra game this year, that'll give me a good shot of it. So I've got one more. I've got one more potential slip up I could have. And like you said, I've got some tough games. And, obviously they're not easy. Matt's beat me twice last year. Dean Muse is a good ball player. Some of these new guys I got to deal with. New Patriots, new Raiders. Got to figure them out. Obviously Prime and is going to want nothing more than to beat me to keep me out of the playoffs. So I don't know if I can do it, but 11's the win total I'm looking for, and I'm gonna keep battling. I've never missed the playoffs in a CFM league, and so I don't want this one to be my first year to do that, and so I'm gonna push pretty hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
So you definitely got to be feeling better about how your season's going headed into the bye week after that win. However, you do have the Patriots coming up, and a week ago I'm like, okay, he's gonna blow them out. But now we've got a Patriots team, a new owner that comes in, wins his first game of the season. He's now 1-5, so you're not looking at that record saying, "Oh, I'm scared." But he just beat Grams, who was previously 4-1, by 3 points in a high-scoring game, and that roster is cheeks. So that really is, I mean, just in terms of bad luck on the season, that's not great when you have to come in and play a guy in his second game in the league, have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, it'll be his 3rd game, so that helps.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Because I have the
looking
bye.
at your schedule.
No, yeah. Well, I look and say RD leaves 1 week earlier. Maybe I get a forced win there too. So hey, that's just the way it goes. I mean, the Madden leagues change all the time. You can't count on wins down the road. You play whoever you want, and if I want to be a playoff team, I've got to beat whoever this new Patriots guy is. And I noticed, I saw his box score. I saw he ran really well. High scoring game, which again with the New England offense isn't very easy. So I'll take a look at it. I'll watch it. I'll do a little scouting. I'll get some information on him. I've asked a few people around already just to get some information on him. So I'll be ready. I think I got a pretty good game plan. There's some weaknesses I think on that team that I can exploit, and I'll go ahead and do that. But yeah, I mean, again, if I want to be a playoff quality team, I got to beat these teams no matter who they are. So I'm ready for it.
And we had some turnover in your division too. new Raiders owner, Double Rice No Beans. What do you know about him? Because I'm not in the primer. I don't know how good he is. I don't know his play style. You don't play him until week 18, which that could be a hugely important game if it comes down to it.
Yeah, isn't he the Patriots guy, the Double Rice No Beans? And
Yeah, he's
isn't
Patriots.
Oh, I got him
Yeah.
switched up. We got two new owners in the last 24 hours. It's confusing.
That's all right. That's all right.
All right, Double Rice No
Niners
Beans
is Jace Move.
Yeah, Jace Move is the Raiders. Double Rice No Beans is the Patriots.
Yeah, like I said, part of what I enjoy about CFM leagues is the competitive about the owner. So I try really hard to figure out who these guys are. I try to figure out their style, what they want to do. That's the fun part of it to me. So you give me an owner out there, I'll try to tell you kind of what their style is, what they'll try to do, and I want to take it away. So I've got a few games with the Raiders that I can watch. So I'm not too worried about him. The Patriots guy, obviously, since I play him sooner, I gotta catch up on his style. But yeah, I'll be watching the Raiders and seeing what they do. I like that Raider team. I think they've got a lot of nice Madden pieces. Obviously, RD was doing really good stuff with them. So I think if he's a quality Madden player, he's going to be a quality opponent. So I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep watching it. I have a hard time believing he'll be up to RD's level, but hey, maybe he is, and maybe he'll win us some Barty this year. We'll see. I doubt that though.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed in the SML in my limited time here, I guess it's not so limited anymore, but there's really no such thing as an easy win, and you better go into every game prepared. Don't take anyone for granted because they'll sneak up and get you.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't take October lightly at all, and I was up 24-0, and then had a disconnect, and I'm like, oh man, I would love to restart this fresh, but I can't afford not to. So I kind of cut in the middle. I said, hey, let me just take 14-point lead. I don't need the full 24. Let me take a 14-point lead, and we played again. And that's the one thing I try not to is every game counts, every opponent matters, and I want to give it my fair shot. So I agree with you, Matt. It's a great league, a lot of competitive players, and it's just getting better and better. So. At any one of those, I talk about 11 wins and I only have one. I don't want to disrespect any opponent that I'm going to play.
So you talked about your schedule coming up. You talked about the AFC a little bit. Let's go back to that. I think the top 7 players in the AFC, probably the top 8, including you, are pretty clear cut right now. But there's only 7 playoff spots, and one of those is going to go to the AFC South, who has a very good chance of being under 500 at the start of the playoffs. So top 8 teams fighting for 6 spots. You're going to have 2 guys on the outs. Right now, it's actually Prime that's on the outs and you. So how do you see this season going, and what's your prediction for the rest of the season?
Well, the real interesting teams are you meets DW, Matt, myself, and now the new Raiders owner. Those are the ones that are going to be the one that kind of see what happens, what goes on. So DW's got he's had an easy schedule. He knows that. He's been honest with it. He's having a good ride, and he should enjoy every minute of it. But he's going to have to run some tough games there. So he I think he's got 6 tough ones. So will he win one of those 6? He could, or 2 of those 6, 3 of those 6. If he does, he's in the playoffs, and that spot's locked up. You meets are going to have some tough games, and you got to figure out, can you beat Faz? Can you beat DW twice? Some of your non-conference. Matt's got some tough games. He's got to play Bomber twice. He's got to play me. Matt, you also, I imagine you have Prime on your schedule too, right?
I do.
Yeah, so you got Prime on your schedule. So there's some tough games, and again, we don't know about the Raiders. So that's why I think 11-6 is comfortable to get you in. I think 10-7 might with some tiebreakers. But I would say Faz and Bomber and Prime are the 3 that you can lock in. And then whoever comes out of the NFC South, you can lock in. The scary part for me, though, thinking of ahead, if I actually can somehow sneak in and I get a 7th seed, I'm going to have to play Bomber or Faz in the first game. And so you look there like, great, what kind of reward do you get for making the playoffs? You gotta play the two juggernauts right now. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a great ride. In a week from now, I could be talking totally different if I lose one or two more games, and then it's kind of okay. What do I do from there? But for right now, there's hope, and I think this is gonna be fun. I would bet. I think between you meets and DW, one of you two will be out, and I think between Matt, myself, and the new Raiders, one of us will be out. So I don't know how that'll go, but I think that's how it'll shape out.
In my eyes, it's basically a race to 11 wins. I mean, it's still possible that somebody misses the playoffs with 11 wins. But right now, how it's looking, I mean, guys are taking losses. We're going to have some tough games for everybody coming up. I really think it's 11 wins and in. I think 10 wins, you're probably going to be out. And I think that's probably going to be the way it is the entire cycle, because now you've got a Patriots team who's going to probably be better than our last Patriots owner, R.I.P. Sherm. I miss you. So, I mean, that right there is a top 9 all of a sudden. And you would assume that, let's just say DW keeps winning the way he's winning right now. That's going to be 3 of those teams that are going to be missing the playoffs. The AFC is absolutely loaded. So, hey, I mean, every win counts the same, but wins early in the season really, really help.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, I think it's kind of boring if you just kind of cakewalk your way into the playoffs and then you play one big meaningful game and then maybe your season's over. At least now, if you make it to the AFC playoffs, you've earned your ticket there. You didn't cakewalk through it, unless you're in the NFC South. Sorry, guys, but it'll prepare you for those big games. Like, okay, now it's just another big game. So to me, that's a blast. That's a good time. I would 100 times rather be in the AFC right now than the NFC.
Yeah, one last thing I want to say. Sorry about my voice. I think Prime got me sick on commentary the other night. But I just want to say you're a good guy. I think we all know that. I think that's been established. But you're a good sport too. Expectations were high for you. They still are. But you come in, you start out 0-5. You're getting a lot of heat in chat. You were getting a lot of heat at 0-1. And then it just, every single time you lost, it just compounded itself. But you've taken it really well. You haven't gotten confrontational with anybody. You've taken all the shots. And I'm excited to see how the rest of your season goes and the rest of your cycle.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that, because that's something if just a quick promo for the sit down, you'll hear me kind of make a comment about that. I want to make sure that, if I'm going to talk up front and if I'm going to be a guy that kind of bust some balls on some people, that when it comes my way, I'm there to hang on and to deal with it as well too. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. I do get a little riled up, some guys that I feel like haven't done anything in the last cycle or this season yet. Obviously, no one's done much yet this season, but last cycle, and then they start acting like they have. At least be honest. At least be like, okay, mock me and make fun of me, but don't try to act like, you're something that you aren't, because your last cycle you didn't prove anything. So, have a good time, make fun of me because I'm 0-5. I deserve it. I haven't proven anything, but the only guys that do kind of rub me the wrong way are the guys that not only take shots at me, but then try to act like they're sitting on the mountaintop when they haven't gotten there. So, get to the mountaintop, then you can say whatever you want. But until then, just have fun at making fun of each other as we go along the way.
All right, Matt, you got anything else to add?
No, I just want to say, good luck, Dan. Thanks for coming on. I'll see you week 11.
Yeah. So I want to throw this out real quick to you guys. I haven't been keeping track enough, but how's your fantasy Madden stuff looking?
We actually have not gone back and looked at that yet. I was actually planning to do that next week. Quick promo for the future M&M in the morning, because that'll be right around mid-season. So we'll look at that and drop our players, sign some new ones.
I think that's a really cool idea that you guys are doing. I thought the way that you handled it, I thought, of some of the new content that's been coming out and new stuff that you guys have been going, like not just you guys, but across the SML. I thought that was one of the better, newer things. So I just want to give you guys a shout out. Keep doing that. I think that's a lot of fun to think through. I know a few times I actually thought about it because Matt, I think you took Eckler from me or off of not off of me, but you picked him. And so I was like, man, I better get him some touches so I don't disappoint Matt here. So I think it's a blast. I think you guys should keep doing it. So it's really good.
I would definitely like to expand it in the future. Maybe get two others in next season, and we'll get like a 4-team fantasy league going, and we'll just see where it goes from there. But it was a fun idea, and I'm looking forward to see how it goes. All right, Dan.
Good stuff, guys.
You got anything else to say?
No, I just anyone looking for a QB, let's start talking. I know we might not have trades this season, but Jared Goff, man, he sometimes it's better to know that you got a bird in your hand than the two in the bush. So let's come talk. Let's start negotiating. I make friendly deals. Let's talk.
All right, none of that plugging your own trades for. We saw what QP did on First and Goal. None of that. We will not be a motive for your propaganda. All right, Dan, thanks for coming on. And we will be keeping a close eye on you the rest of the season.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Dan.
And while he's still in chat. But there he goes. That's Dan, the preacher man, Madden Messiah. Matt, all right, let's move on. Real fast, I know I didn't bring this up as we were planning for this episode, but I thought of this while we were talking to Dan. I know we were talking, hey, AFC South, easily best division in the SML. But now we got a new Patriots owner, and DW is going 5-0. Jury's out on our current Raiders owner. I mean, I don't think anybody knows what's going on with him just quite yet. Do we have maybe a contender for the new best division in the SML?
Yeah, maybe from a totality aspect, I still think that the AFC West is going to be the peak for just being top heavy. I think Dan's going to figure it out. I have not seen this Raiders owner play yet, so I don't know what to expect from him. I think DW is fool's gold, which it's unfair for me to say because he hasn't beat anybody, but he's beat everybody on his schedule, and that's all he can do right now. So I feel like it's a little unfair to criticize him for that, but in my personal opinion, I need to see him beat a couple of good teams before I'm convinced. But the departure of RD changes things, and I think the AFC East may have a claim to that throne if DW continues and this Patriots owner, who just beat Rams, like you said, continues along that path. Yeah,
I mean, Dan and Prime would probably come in and at worst be the second best owner in this division. But you know what? Top to bottom, hey, they might be there. But we've talked a lot about the AFC today. Let's hop conferences. In terms of best division in the SML. What about the NFC North? You got D Muse, who was just in the Super Bowl not too long ago. He's 3-3, and he's in last place in that division behind Lawyer Killer Future, who's off to a fantastic 4-1 start, and the Detroit Lions QP at 4-1.
Yeah, I don't think the NFC North was too happy when our guest today traded his Justin Herbert to that team because he was winning games without him, and now he's only going to continue to get better. I think that's a good division. I think it's a little bit shocking. I expected D-Muse to be a little bit higher, but again, quarterback does matter in this game, and Kellen Mond, and from what I've seen, is just not getting the job done. Lawyers played solid. I played him. It was a tough game. Devontae Adams was open every time I looked. I'm not too convinced with Future yet. I know I was excited to see him play RD actually, and that ended up being just a forced win for Future. But he got just absolutely decimated by Bomber, but it seems like everybody is. And he did beat QP. He is QP's only loss, so it'll be a fun division to watch.
Yeah, I think we've now got 3 really solid divisions from top to bottom. I mean, hell, even Finns can compete with some people in the AFC, especially towards that bottom. So I don't know if there's a clear-cut answer here. I'm just going to say benefit of the doubt, probably still the AFC South. I mean, AFC West, not South. I'm sorry. That was disrespectful. Just because, I mean, Prime's already taken 2 losses, which is not common. Dan's taken 5, which is like probably halfway to his total of all last cycle. But you know what? I don't know. I mean, Jay Smooth, he could be solid. He just came out and beat the Cowboys, so.
Yeah, if I was a betting man,
No,
I would put it
I'm
all.
sorry. I'm getting those two guys mixed up again. Oh, it's going to be an issue for like a couple of weeks. I know that.
Yeah, it'll come to you. It's always a tough transition. Even after the team draft, it was hard for me to get.
I'm in another
guys.
league with Jay Smooth, so I know he's like a solid player, even though he hasn't played in the SML yet.
But what I was going to say was that, yeah, Prime's lost 2 games, but against really tough opponents, he's trying to figure things out. If I was a betting man, looking at both conferences, I'm going. If it was poker, I would go all in on Faz. I don't see the guy tripping up. Unless the defense just gets totally patched to where it's just now defense is broken in the opposite way and like it's almost impossible to pass. He's just gonna pick people apart. He hasn't lost a game. He's 4-1, but his only loss was to me, and I played his computer week 1. So he's undefeated and he's looked really good. He just blew Prime out of the water.
Yeah, I can't say that I expected Prime to be the 3rd best team in the AFC after 6 weeks. But man, Bomber is crazy. I mean, if you're gonna put your money on Buffalo, give me Cleveland, easy. All right,
bad pick. That Chubb is a bad man.
Oh man, dude, it's gonna run for 3,000 yards. It's not even like we can say that Bomber's cheesing. He's had 6 games, and he's 6-0. Nick Chubb's already over 1,000 rush yards on just 115 carries.
It's unbelievable.
It's insane. That's nearly double the second place guy. And that's just, I mean, Nick Chubb is a monster. All right, moving on. Finally, let's recap our Locked On segment from last week. Week 3, you took the Lions. I took the Packers. We both got a win there. Week 4, you took the Panthers, who got blown out by the Cowboys in a game not many people saw coming. I took the Seahawks in a win. I got that one. You took the Raiders, which I think was the forced loss that Dan was talking about, which is unfortunate. Not see that one coming. So you are off to a 1-2 start, and I locked in the Bills over the Chiefs, and boy, did Faz make me look smart. 42-17 over the Chiefs. So I'm 3-0, you're 1-2. Not a great start, but we're picking 4 more weeks today since we're halfway through week 6, and who knows where we'll be this time next week. So let's start with week 6, and I'll give you the first choice.
Okay, well, week 6, we were just talking to Dan about, redemption, and I guess I got to start early too, after going 1-2. Give me, week 6 is kind of, a lot of it's been played already, but give me Futures Bears over Lawyers Packers, and I'll lock that in. Yeah,
that was my pick, so now I'm going to have to scramble to think about something. I knew I shouldn't have given that to you. So, I mean, like you said, we're halfway through. More than halfway through week 6, so slim pickings here. I'm going to take the Rams over the Giants. I just think that even if they're both at the same level of play this season so far, the Rams just have the better roster, and I think it'll be tough for KJ to overcome that.
Yeah, I didn't know the Rams were 1-4. I thought just by watching his games, he's played a lot better than that. I was really shocked at his record. Yeah, I really was too. I was looking, I'm like, okay, he's probably going to be a borderline playoff team. I was like, 1-4. I mean, he must have, I don't know who he's played, but it had to have been a tough schedule so far. Moving on, week 7, you took my pick last time, so I'm not going to give you the chance this time. I'm locking in the Bucks over the Bears. I was just about to take the Bears and come back, and I pick against them in week 7. That's a game that could potentially be a 5-1 Bears team going up against the 5-1 Bucks team. And the Bucks are good, so I think just even on roster alone, even if the owners are the same, I'm taking the roster. Yeah, and I'm actually going to go in week 6. I took the Bears over the Packers. I'm actually going to say sorry to Lawyer, and I'm actually going to take him over NYT. So Lawyer's falling into that Figs get picked against twice in a row. See, we're gonna have to come up with a name for that. I'm picking him to win. I'm picking Lawyer to win. Oh, okay. NYT, I don't like what I've seen recently. He just got blown out by somebody. Was it Prime?
It was Prime.
Yeah, I think
so
it
I don't
was
know if
Prime.
that really counts.
And I know that doesn't really count, but I saw glimpses. He played Faz really well. I'm gonna pull up his schedule real quick.
He beat Dan.
He beat Dan, and I do think that's a good win because even though Dan's 0-5, I consider it a quality win. But he lost to Clink again. I don't think that's necessarily a bad loss, but the way in which he lost to Prime, 6 interceptions, I think he threw.
Oof.
Yeah. So 6 interceptions with Jordan Love, 1 with Colin Kaepernick, and 2 with his receiver De'Ami Brown, I believe. And that's 9 interceptions. I don't like how that looks, even against
Yikes.
Prime, who's not a defensive mastermind this season so far. So, give me Lawyer in that one.
All right. Well, let's move on to week 8. I'll let you take first pick. I have a backup pick for this one.
Yeah. So week 8, I actually I thought there were some decent opportunities in here, but I went with what I think is going to be possibly the game of the week, and I took Clink over Pauly.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the game. I was like, huh. I mean, Clink's played well, but Pauly might be my pick for NFC this year. I don't know yet.
Yeah, Pauly lost to the Rams, and he struggled on defense against that Rams team, and which, I mean, it's not a bad team, but I'm impressed with what I've seen from Clink. He goes to the school of Faz, and so I think he wins that game.
All right. Well, you took the Saints. I'm gonna go in our first game this season, where we're gonna pick against one of our hosts. I'm taking the Browns over you, and I'm wondering just. I mean, that Browns team is absolutely loaded. I'm hopeful you can keep it a close game. But just based on records, I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, and I mentioned DW and him maybe being fool's gold. I think I'm a little bit of fool's gold too, and just that I haven't really proved myself yet. I beat Faz, but again, that was a computer game, doesn't count. Our game was close into the late third, and I threw a pick, and then I had a fumble that got returned for a touchdown. It looks like I got blown out. It was a little bit closer than that. I didn't feel like I could win it. I just beat Noel, who had only had 1 loss. That was a really close game, but Bomber just looks like. He is just dominating guys. So I don't think that's a bad pick. I'm excited for the challenge.
Oh, I mean, if you can stop the run, then all you have to worry about is Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and Schwartz, that rookie. And then the tight ends, Austin Hooper and who's their backup tight end? They got somebody good too, right? No, they traded Njoku. So you know what? Yeah. I mean, man. There's no one way to play that team. You have to be really good against everything. And then you have to, stay away from Garrett. All right, week 9, I'll give you your first choice again.
Yeah, and there's actually a couple games in here, so if you want to veto this one, I'll let you. But based on records, give me the Pats over the Panthers.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen anything from I don't even know that acronym yet. That's going to take me a while. So we haven't seen anything from Rice yet, really, except for a win over the Cowboys. So I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I think he's the favorite, but yeah, I'm fine with giving that too. And that was actually my backup pick. So you took that one. So for my pick, and I'm going to stay in the AFC East, and I'm going to take the Jets over the Colts. I know based on records, this is going to look like there's a team that's heavily favored here, but just historically speaking, they're probably about the same caliber of owner. So, I mean, if you want to veto this one, you go for it. But I think DW is going to find a way to win over Mike in what is really might be an early test. And I know it's early, but it's going to be week 9 for a potentially 8-0 Jets team.
Yeah, and I watched Mike's game this morning against ZZ. Now ZZ's kind of been he's 1-5, but he's kind of been hot and cold, and he really competed with Bomber in week 2. Took him to overtime, almost beat him. But I liked what I saw from Mike today. I think he settled on a quarterback with Eason, who's got a strong arm. He's not necessarily the most accurate quarterback, but strong arm. He was able to run enough. He's not necessarily doing great with Taylor, but I'm not going to veto this. I think that's a totally fair. until DW beats a solid player, I think it's a fair pick.
All right, I'm going to go look at DW's schedule because I know he doesn't play a team with a current winning record until week 10, and that's against Faz. So that one will probably be up for a pick too. I don't know if either of us are going to pick it, but that will probably be an eligible one in my mind. So right now, he'll be 7-0 because he's got a bye week coming up. He is 5-0. He has wins over Two-Step, over Field. I always look at the Titans, and I want to think Coop still. Finns, the Patriots with Sherm and Woods. I mean, you could make an argument that Woods is a good player. Field's been a good player in the past. So is Two-Step. But really, I mean, hasn't played anybody yet. He's got the new Patriots coming up in week 7, so that'll be a good test, I think, for both players. If the Patriots come out and they blow him out, all right, he's good. If DW comes out and he wins, we think, okay, maybe he's for real, because Rice has been solid in the primer as far as I'm aware. Week 8, he's got Spooky and the Bengals. I think he's pretty heavily favored in that one, or at least favored. And then week 9, he's got the Colts. So really, his first test, I'd say, is probably the Patriots, but then he really doesn't play anyone else until week 10.
Yeah, the Patriots game is circled for me. It obviously wasn't 24 hours ago, but with Sherm stepping down, obviously that becomes a little bit more competitive probably, and it'll at least be a good eye test for, is DW for real? Again, I don't have a sample size on Rice to really determine where he is in the echelon of tiers, but that's a test at least. He beat Grams. That's a solid win, especially in the way he did in a shootout. So yeah, I'm excited. I think DW is the wild card team in the AFC because he might dictate the playoff race like we just talked about. If he continues this and he continues to win, someone we expected to make it is not going to, whether that's me, you, Dan, whoever. He can play spoiler.
I think he's got a baseline of a minimum of 6 wins headed into a really backloaded schedule. Starting in week 10, he plays the Bills. He plays the Dolphins. Then he plays Easy. Then he plays Tiny. But then he's got Clink. He's got me again. He's got the Jags, who are a competitive team. I don't know if you watched my game, but it was 10-0 Jaguars in the fourth quarter. I ended up coming back to win by some grace of God or something. But, I mean, Coop is competitive with that Jaguars team. Then he goes and plays the Buccaneers and Pauly, and then he's got the Bills to finish out the season. It is not a cakewalk to the playoffs for the Jets, even with this tremendous start.
Yeah, some guys will get a really easy schedule, and it'll take the next season to, now that they've placed a little higher, they get that first, second place season or schedule, and then you figure it out. We don't have to wait very long. We're going to find out this season if DW's start was for real or if he's just kind of in that middle tier. We're going to find out.
I don't have the records pulled up, but I'm pretty sure he was like around about a 500 team last year, maybe a little bit better. He did make the playoffs a couple of times, so I think we'll see. But I'm going to throw this out here, and I'm looking at the Patriots' schedule right now. I don't think last place is out of the question yet for DW in the division. Because if Rice is going to live up to the hype, which he might, he still has a tough schedule too. Dolphins twice, Bills twice, Browns, Dan. I mean, so he could take another 5 losses, but I don't know, man. It's going to be really interesting to watch these two teams going forward.
Yeah, things are going to change, and I'm ready. I mean, Dan's going to change. I believe he just did. I think Dan just turned a corner. I know it's October, but October's not as bad as Dan beat him by. He's got the sit down coming out, or it is out. I think Dan flipped a switch, and I think things are going to change, and these standings are going to look a little bit differently in a couple weeks.
All right, I just came up with something on the fly. I thought of this about 30 seconds ago. Eminem in the morning, game of the week. Game of the real life week. And I think we're going to have to make it Patriots-Jets week 7.
I think so.
Any contest to that?
No, I was just scrolling down. I think there's just I think, I look at Seahawks Saints, that's a good one. But I think just the fact that we're going to find out so much about both guys makes that a great candidate, or not even a candidate. That makes it a great choice.
In my head, and I'm now using this podcast as a brainstorming session, apparently. In my head, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe it's not going to be the best game, but it might be the game that's the most interesting or tell us the most. So I think moving forward, to go along with our locked in picks, we're gonna have to pick a game of the week for the next 7 days.
For sure, yeah. I hope that game is on at a time I can watch it, because I don't want to see the final score. That's not going to tell me the whole story. I want to see them play each other. I want to see how they scheme against each other, and I want to see just how it all transpires. I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, this was probably a snooze fest 2 weeks ago, 24 hours ago. But now we got some intrigue going, and we will recap that game. And we will recap our locked-in picks on the next episode of M&M in the Morning. Matt, do you have anything else to add?
On the note you just talked about, I want to mention that I hope Sherm was a fantastic guy. I enjoyed talking to him. We made a trade, so we had a lot of discussion in DM. I hope that if you're out there and you see him leaving because he didn't feel competitive, I hope if you don't feel competitive, I hope you're not thinking of the same thing. I don't think that should be the number one thing. Obviously, someone's got to lose, and some people have got to lose more than others. I just love being in the league, man. Win or lose, I just love the brotherhood. So I hope if you're down about that, stick it through. It's a great league. You don't want to quit and then regret that you quit when you're feeling that urge to be in the SML again.
I really think that's a good point, and a good message, because I don't remember what podcast it was on, but I definitely talked about something similar last year or so. You know what? If it comes down to it and you're not winning your games, then throw wins and losses out the window, and make content or set personal wins for yourself. Like, I'm gonna run for 100 yards this next game. It gets you something motivated to get into a game, even if you're 0-5 going up against a 5-0 team. Like you said, I mean, hey, we're 32 guys here. Everybody plays everybody. Not everybody's going to win, and a bunch of people are going to lose a lot of games. And I think the SML is past this, but I mean, if you're in the league just for wins and losses, I mean, I don't think that's a productive way to be in a league long term. And I'm not saying that's what Sherm was in the league for. I know that's not the case. But, I just think setting goals for yourself is a really good method to keep yourself motivated, or just get involved with content. I mean, this keeps me motivated partially.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole point of this, it's a video game. What do you play video games for? You play them to have fun. And so find your fun. If you're not competitive, certainly try to become better. I mean, play every game trying to get better, but like you said, make a goal. Maybe make a trade for a guy you really want to play with. I don't know what it is, but find your fun. If you're not winning, just find your fun. It's a long cycle. You're gonna get rookies. You're gonna have flashes of success, but just find your fun, and don't ever feel bad that you're doing the league a disservice by losing. I promise you are not. Be active in chat. If you do content, that's fantastic. Just because you're losing, you're not doing the league a disservice. So I hope no one ever thinks that.
The SML loves losers. Losers, we love you. All right, guys. We will talk to you next week. Thanks for watching. Dan plugged it earlier. Don't forget to go check out the sit down with Dan himself. If you have not listened to it yet, good stuff over there. Prime always does that well. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk to you next week.